What's going on, y'all? So, first and foremost, we wanted to say that we had so much fun making this episode that it was an extravaganza. So, what we did was we cut it up into multiple episodes so that way you can enjoy it at your own pace and at your own leisure. So, sit back and enjoy as we dive into the episode. And y'all, it was so good, we got right into it. I'm talking about we started talking about it right away. So, y'all enjoy. What is going on, y'all? How are y'all doing today? I'm Mr. G.
I'm Agent X.
I'm the Bishop.
And welcome to the Nexus Podcast, where we bring together all the media that you love, where we talk about Buffy, Xena, Game of Thrones, and more, with Charmed always being the heart and center of what we do.
Yeah, because when I first watched this episode in preparation, I did it on Prime, and I was like, oh, they done messed up all the music. Like, did they retain the rights to one song?
Not a single song. When I watch it on them, I'm like, is it me? Am I one of those fans who doesn't remember any of this music? Because this was not on when I watched it before.
It wasn't. And like the music when Piper was putting together the invitations after the opening, they changed that.
That was horrible. I was like, what are we doing?
Weird. I thought that song in the beginning was weird. I said, well, maybe it's just me. What the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
Just take the music out. You can put in this weird shit, this elevator music.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, I know the rights can't be that expensive. Like, I'm sorry.
I mean, because who else is using those songs?
Right. And if it is, you know what? Just pay it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, just pay it.
You wasn't paying for nothing else. You can pay for that.
Right.
Okay.
You got it on all these streaming services. The change of the music really does. It really lowers the quality of the show a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of ruins the scene because now I'm focusing on this whack music and not what they're talking about.
Right.
And then if somebody was watching it for the first time, they'll be like, "This is just a cheesy '90s show."
So, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dawson's Creek, they had that funky music for like streaming and maybe DVDs, but I think maybe HBO Max, when they got it, they went and like got the rights back to that song because like it was the iconic theme for Dawson's Creek. So Charmed is going to do the same.
Because can you imagine Dawson's Creek starting and they're just like, he went to the store and bought some liquor. Like, what? Like, what are we doing?
It's so fun. It's so funny because me and my college roommate, I think like our sophomore or junior year, we decided to. It was on Netflix, and we decided to watch. I had watched Dawson's Creek. He hadn't, and they didn't have the original song. And we was watching it, and he's like, "Well, okay, the theme's okay. It's not really good." And then I played him like the original theme on YouTube. He's like, "Oh, this is loads better." Like I can't believe they didn't get this back. Like the theme songs and the visuals, they work like they mesh together. So when you change it, you just have a mess.
Because that theme song they got for the Charmed on the stream, I'm like, baby, what we got going on here? Because
like
it sounds like somebody made it. It sounds like somebody made it in GarageBand real quick. Like they said, okay, y'all, we forgot to get something else, and somebody was like, okay, I'll put something together real quick, and they just went like GarageBand or Logic Pro, and they just started like making beats real quick, and they were like, here you go. I know Aaron Spelling is burning right now, and I know he is mad.
Oh, definitely.
Shut up. Please shut up.
But you're right, he is burning though.
Because one thing that's interesting about watching the show is like rewatching it, especially the first season, is Phoebe really was like all over the place. This girl, when she came in, her and Prue having a shade fest. She seemed like she don't even really like her in the first place. Like they really don't like each other. And fast forward, fast forward to episode 4, and my girl is sitting up here working a job, abusing her power, so that she can buy a present for Prue's birthday. Like, just just the amount of like time between it is crazy.
Yeah, and
And the fact
then
that Prue wasn't. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say like Prue like she didn't yell at her or anything. She was like, okay, I see where your
Mm-hmm.
heart is, just see it through.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was gonna say. Like 3 episodes ago, Prue would have kicked her out, packed her bags, put her out, took her down to the shelter, and dropped her off. And now she's like, "You were trying to do something good," and I'm like, "Where is Prue? Because this ain't Prue."
But you know why I noticed this episode, and it's so funny because we talked about it, where everyone talked about, like how Prue, like how she treated Phoebe, like micromanaging her and all that. But this episode, Hyper straight up treated Phoebe like a child,
She
like
did.
Yeah.
She did.
to the point where she showed up to that lady's job,
Mm-hmm. Screaming, hollering.
to chastise her.
Embarrassing this
She
woman
was
in front of these
kinda.
people.
Like even Prue didn't do that.
It was really kind of uncharacteristic. Wait, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm struggling, but it was out of what I expect or know Piper to be.
Yeah, it was
Usually
out of
she would be the
character.
one like she was doing
Mhm.
something nice. She was like, F that. What are you doing down here? This is too much. Come home now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in the grand scheme of things, that sassiness that people just love about Piper. And I didn't realize that was coming out that early. Because if you had shown me that scene, I would have been like, yeah, that's her little sister. Because the way she talking to her, she couldn't possibly be older than her. Like, there is no way. And like I didn't realize they had such a good, like, older, younger dynamic in the
Yeah.
earlier episodes. But they had a really, really good one. And what I like about them, the two of them in particular, is sometimes they kind of like switch it up almost. Like sometimes it seems like Phoebe is older. Sometimes you can tell Piper is older when it's just the two of them. Because sometimes Piper's like, "Girl, come on, we can't." Like I think about the episode with Bane, and when Phoebe cast the spells for Piper to find her love, and then it led her to Prue, which I was like, we got a lot to discuss with that, but that's another story for another day. And I was like, not Piper love her sister more than she love any man, but I guess that makes sense because anyway, let me shut up. And so
No, you're exactly right. It's so realistic when you have like multiple siblings, because like Piper, like she gets to be like big sister when it's just her and Phoebe, but when Prue is there, it's like Prue is big sister, and they both of them default to little sister. And that's how it is in real life. Like those dynamics change with your siblings depending on who's there.
I like the times where it didn't happen often, but there were times where like Phoebe or Piper would like set the tone or lead the direction and Prue would follow. And I kind of like sometimes seeing Prue take the backseat.
Yeah.
And let the other sisters kind of work the stuff out because, Phoebe early on, that first season, I don't give her enough credit, I think. In that first season, you really see Phoebe almost become a super witch almost overnight.
Yeah.
She was like, when that guy would not take her advice and she had the forethought to like break the key off in his door, I'm thinking Piper or even Prue never would have thought about something like that. But like Phoebe had the mind to say, well, you won't let me save you, I'm going to force you to be saved.
And you know what? I think that speaks to, again, that speaks to the fact Phoebe didn't have, I can't just freeze him. I can't just, lock the door from the outside or whatever with my power. Like, Phoebe had to get creative. My girl was out here having to hoof it. Like, she didn't have the opportunity to just use magic to do stuff. She literally had to do it by hand. And I think that's what made her crafty and smart in a way that her sisters, I feel bad saying that because it's not that they weren't smart. I mean, they came up with good plans. I just think Phoebe had to be smarter in a way that they didn't, because if something happened, Piper can
Mhm.
freeze them, Prue can throw somebody,
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And that's why I kind of, when you can kind of see how they get back into a corner when they don't have magic, like with Nicholas. Prue and Piper's power wasn't working. It was like, well, we need to hightail it up to the book so we can figure out what to do. But even in
Yeah.
that scene, Phoebe is the one who kicked him and knocked him down so they could run. Like, she has to think on her feet because she can't survive in the same way they can. Listen,
Right.
listen.
And they even
I
acknowledged as
wonder.
such, in the painting episode when Phoebe cast the smart cell,
Mhm.
and they said that Phoebe has the type of smarts that they would never have.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
who
Just like
would have
when,
thought to pick the demon's pocket? Like, my girl was sitting up
right,
here bugging this man. Man,
or
I love
even
you.
or even to put the spell around Kit's collar in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that
And
she
like
wouldn't get
two
trapped.
things. Yeah. Two things that just came to my mind was I wonder if her time in New York gave her a street smarts that they didn't really have, because you kind of have to be tough to live in New York. So
Yeah,
she
she
probably picked up a
definitely.
lot of things there. And then also,
Yeah,
it kind of foreshadows to, seasons later when she didn't have her powers.
Mm-hmm.
So she already
yeah.
kind of knew how to navigate without active powers. Because for a while she was just running, riding bikes, jumping in the street, that kind of stuff.
Listen,
So
because
she
no,
was prepared.
and you're right, because think about it, because I love my girl Paige now, but she didn't have to do all of that. She was being extra. I'm sorry, Paige was doing the absolute most. Phoebe needs to get her powers back. I'm sick of, girl, you basically just got here. Shut up, like hush.
Because first of all, what were her powers gonna do? She
Thank
could
you.
just levitate.
And then they sitting up here with charts and astrological signs and all this and that. And I'm like, okay, I'm not being shady, but why y'all hadn't had to use this before? Because it's not like Phoebe was getting premonitions every day. So don't play in my face like that.
And she
Exactly.
would pick up on it in the room, or they would send her some, but it wasn't like she was getting premonitions, from sun up to sundown, Monday through Sunday. Like, no.
I mean, because Paige barely saw Phoebe get premonition. Because she stopped doing it by the time Paige came around.
I
That
guess Paige
part.
said, listen, I'm tired. Paige, I'm tired of carrying y'all. Because, Piper, I'm doing Piper's job, my job, now I got to do her job.
Paige was so stressed that she was sitting up here summoning a gigolo. Like, ma'am, you can't, y'all. Like, girl, leave me alone.
I do want to know how they were able to conjure that man and conjure the man for Piper, and those weren't personal games.
And nothing came from it. Like,
yeah, Phoebe, he gets her powers taken.
Then got her.
Just for having a few permits.
But then Piper.
For the elders not watching them?
Piper had the audacity to bring up Paige losing her power when Paige ordered the diaper into the trash can. Girl, leave me alone. I would say, girl,
I mean, this is year 7, and you done froze every little thing for no reason.
Didn't she freeze
Leo in bed?
She froze in the middle of sex. And then you blew up the girl's chair. Come on.
She be blowing Leo up. She freezes cereal when it falls. She freezes drinks. She kept freezing. And then, this isn't this episode, but the one with the waiter that kept dropping the plates and stuff, and she would freeze him every time. And I'm like, okay, baby, that's personal game, mama. Like, let's come on.
Game. I guess it works. I mean, I guess the rules only apply when they apply.
See, that's why. Yeah. Okay, let me say this to y'all, and I think I've told y'all this before. Going back, looking at the series, thinking about it, I have a different appreciation for Phoebe, because I definitely feel like she got punished at the wrong time when everybody else was doing the same thing. So when I feel like they should have taken her powers was after the Cole arc. Like after they
Mhm.
vanquished him or
Mhm.
whatever else, when we went into season 5, Phoebe shouldn't have had any powers. That should have been her
Right.
punishment for that because she, even if you want to tie it back to Pardon My Past and say like she let history repeat itself even after she got the warning and saw what she could become, she still did it. And so, as punishment now she has to, earn her powers back. You can still do the same storyline, but they just jumped out the window and in season 6 talking about she get forced and premonitions. Okay, she's been doing that the
Yeah.
whole time.
And I
So
agree with
She should
you.
have been. Mhm.
But you know what's the
What was
wildest thing about that? She didn't even use her powers at the beginning of season 5 anyway. So why not write that in?
yes, my girl
and
was
I
pressed
felt like
herself to the
she
point where her powers weren't even working.
I feel like she should
And
have actually been suspended from Good Magic for half of season 5. Like you don't get to even practice magic. You were the queen of hell.
Mm-hmm.
You
yeah,
don't get to just come back up in here and be a charm one the next day. I feel like she should have really been punished then.
Mm-hmm.
right. Like unless it's like for the power of 3, then no magic for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you
Mm-hmm.
wait until Piper about to give birth to her 13th child to want to punish her?
Not 13.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
kingdom
because
come
like
for you. Not for you.
that was funny. But yeah, because what she had to go to the psychic, and then she told her sisters like I haven't had a premonition or levitated in God knows how long, and it had been since season 4 at that point that
Mm-hmm.
she had a
Didn't
premonition or levitated. So
Mm-hmm.
and
like you could have
didn't
just
didn't they
easily
not?
wrote,
They
wrote
didn't
that
even know
in.
that.
No, they
Yeah,
They
didn't.
didn't
Piper
just
was
assume.
like,
They didn't
Piper
even
was
know
like,
this
you
woman.
had premonition, haven't you? And I'm like,
You know,
baby,
you
what?
didn't pay attention. What you be doing?
Paige was in her own world. Paige was up there just living her best life, trying to get
Uh,
orgasms. So she really didn't notice. I'm gonna give her that
and she was trying to
Mm,
find an next funeral to go to
pass.
to get out the house.
okay. You know what I think we should do eventually is maybe do an episode on just all the inconsistencies across the show
Now we ain't gonna have time for
and
that.
break down
Yeah.
like well, you're right. That running list would be we finished that.
It'll be a whole day episode.
I know we're gonna
So
talk about the episode more in depth when we actually do like the full episode thing. But with this episode, Piper was freezing, and I'm gonna
Okay,
talk more about that. Mm-hmm.
me too, because I put that in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was throwing up those hands like she was ready to go,
Baby, she
like
was
multiple
freezing
times.
everything and everybody. I'm like, oh my god, baby. When it comes to a man, Piper gonna make that power work. Do you hear me? If it comes to a man
she
that
didn't
she
want to.
wants,
She didn't want to stop that
Yeah.
bullet. She didn't want to stop that bullet going towards Prue. Now, had it been a man, she probably would have stopped that bullet a little bit faster.
Because
Prue, I'm sorry.
I was going back over in my head the first 3 episodes, and I was like, this is the first time where she was actively trying to freeze things, and she was doing it each time. It didn't fail not once.
she froze. Is this the first time we see her freeze bullets? Mama was
Yep.
freezing
I think
bullets.
so.
She was up there. She froze.
I would give
Whatever
her
that.
MVP
Mm-hmm.
of this
Oh, she
episode.
definitely
To me,
gets
the
it.
MVP.
She
Yeah.
froze Yama, and he's not even from this dimension. He's some kind of
Right.
hell spawn, and she froze him. I mean, she was cutting up this episode. I was like, not her
And
overusing
was it
this
her
power in
idea?
this one episode, and then
Was
she
it
ain't
her
gonna use
idea
it no
to do
more
the
after
thing with
that.
the paper? 'Cause, like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Was it her idea to take that picture with the paper?
I
that
think
Yeah.
it was.
Was that her?
I think,
Because
yeah, that was
Piper
her.
really wasn't.
Yeah,
She was
because
on
Mark
it.
was
She was
trying to
on
talk
it.
her out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's right. She was like, no, we're going down there. So for me, Piper was like, she was that girl that episode.
She was taking charge. She was absolute. And you know what? But you know what else I didn't really think about in like relation to this is Piper was going hard to help another person. Yes, she was romantically interested in him, and all jokes aside, the fact that Piper really was working hard to help this spirit, Baby, we never gonna get that from her again.
I was just about to say enjoy it while it lasts because
And
I
you
mean,
can cut this part out, but the fact that he was Asian and she was
yes.
helping him,
Okay.
yeah,
And I was like, okay, but you know what it was? She wanted them recipes. She knew about them recipes, and
that's
she said,
it.
okay.
That's it.
there was one joke in this episode one line I didn't really like, and then Prue was like, "You guys do look alike," and I was like, "They look nothing alike."
I just I picked up on it. And I was like, wow, this episode really was racist,
It was.
especially because John Cho is Korean.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be playing a Chinese person.
And
Man,
Like,
it don't even
and I'm
matter.
just gonna say this: his mama, I feel like they were borderline racist with her, but I can't put my finger on why. But there was something that I was like, this is not right, and I can't figure out what it was. But it was like, I don't know. I don't know.
It kind of feels like they leaned into like Asian tropes with this episode,
uh-huh.
where it
Hmm.
was like, I guess at that time they called themselves being progressive. But when you watch it now, it's very cringy for me.
Hmm. Hmm. Because
If I was an
this is
Asian
what
fan watching, I'd be like, what the hell is this?
because this was my
Yeah.
thing that I didn't quite understand, and somebody going to explain this to me at some point. Why was Yama only coming after the Asian people? Because we saw a lot of people die, and death came after them. We ain't never seen Yama again. So I need to understand why the one episode with the Asian people, all of a sudden here come Yama.
Right.
I
I,
can't believe
I,
you said it. I'm sorry. It tickles me.
I mean, I'm just saying. Yama said up here he done tried to come after Mark, and he was hunting Mark down. Like he was
Yes.
coming for Mark, and then when he just like throwing threw old boy on the sword thing, I was like, so what you gonna do if Yama stab you and take you? What's gonna happen then? We did
Right?
all of this for nothing. But then, the way they stood together, baby, that was the power of three. I had to stand because when Piper was like, "No, sir, not
Mm-hmm.
today," and then Mary Wilson and Florence came up behind her and said, "We stand
Mary
with
Wilson and Florence.
Diana got in front, and then the Supremes came up behind her
Please, please.
and said, "The happening." I said, "Yes, yes, ma'am. These are the charm boys."
I,
I was
I don't
I
know.
was
That was
impressed with the way Piper went up to Yama and she was like, "You can't have him." Don't know what to tell you. I have never seen Piper like take that much charge in front of the demon for an innocent. She was like, "You're not taking him." So now what?
And then it's funny because, and I'm not throwing shade. I'm not. What was she gonna do? Like, it's the same situation like in Apocalypse Not, where she freezes everybody, but the demon, the one of the four horsemen doesn't freeze, and he runs after him. And I'm like, Piper, what was the plan, baby? What were you gonna do? The only line of defense you have doesn't work against him. So what's next?
yeah,
Get herself in trouble.
because if this is the case, why did you do that the first time you saw him?
That part. That part. Because we could have solved all of this, and then he's sitting up there looking like one of the Beetleborgs. I'm like, girl, okay, you got this man on a horse and his eyes glowing slime green. And he got a helmet on. It's not even a helmet. He just got a bucket on his head with some horns on. You could have, y'all could have said something, done a little power three something. Y'all were strong enough at that point to do something with him, I'm sure.
And should Yama be like more like shouldn't more people be worried about Yama, like the powers that be? Like this is a demon or something that indiscriminately goes after spirits and drags them
Where
to
were the
hell. Not
elders?
just bad spirits, any spirit that he can find.
Like,
Okay.
where were the damn elders at? Were the elders not watching? Did they not know who Yama is?
Okay, to be fair, the elders also waited until the sisters were going up against Zenku, who was trying to take in the Nexus to be like, oh, by the way, We put something in the book. Like, so
It's called a
at this
system.
point, I have zero expectations when it comes to their like reliability.
Yeah. And speaking of, I want to go back to Phoebe losing her powers in season 6. The tribunal elders, so they all colluding together. Like,
I'm very
they
shocked. Like,
did.
if someone had told me that the elders wanted the Charmdons up out of there when they first became witches, I would have said, yeah, probably so. Like, if you had told me that the elders were the ones that like directed Jabna to San Francisco and sent Yama and all this and that, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out.
Yeah,
They
because
really are
not
the villain of the show.
yeah, because not only was it irresponsible to have a charmed one, like, without her warring power, without her powers, but they also had it during the time where another charmed one was out of commission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have Piper who's out of commission, and now Phoebe doesn't have her powers. Like,
And
you
you
really
know what?
tried to
I
kill
see why
them.
Paige was up there summoning that gigolo because they don't put the whole workload on her. And then we know they finna tell her she needs to be a white lighter. I think why my girl had to get it in real quick. You know what? You know what? Let me shut
And,
up.
and,
She had needs.
and what if this was the season that Zanku attacked them? Then what was they gonna do?
They would have been looking real
Die.
stupid and they would have been trying to transfer the power. They would have been like, let's let Piper squirt out one more. Hopefully she gets some twins. And then we can just get him the power for it.
Thank God that Paige was half white lighter, or my girl would have been dead. I don't know how many times without her, because like they always would try to forget about Paige, and it's like you should probably take her out first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I
Go
mean,
for her first, then go for Piper, and then with Phoebe. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna take her out, but like Paige could get them out. Like if you knock them both out, you should knock Paige out because she's gonna orb them up out of here every time.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because really and truly, no shade. You could knock off Piper and Paige and then probably just convince Phoebe to turn evil. Like at that point, she'd be like, well, what's stopping me? Because she ain't gonna put up the good fight by herself. So she's just gonna be like, look, if I can't beat him, I'm gonna join them.
Any of y'all demons single?
any Kazi demons left running around?
I mean, listen. If she don't want them, I'll take them.
I sure will.
I don't
The
care that he
whole
can't
lot of
read.
them.
I don't care that he can't read. I'll read to
That's
him.
okay. I'll teach you. I'll teach you to read.
Well, Phoebe did say that those fireballs keep you warm at night.
You would know.
Wasn't there another swarm type demon tribe on there, and it was played by the same actor? Wasn't there another one on there? Because
There was, so they had a tribe thing in season 6 when Jason found out that they were witches, and
and
but I think you're right. I think you're right that there was something where they were played by the same people.
Let me look it up because this is gonna bother me. Because let's see.
I would have liked to have seen one of the sisters date a black man. That's random, but or at least like maybe go on a date with one. I feel like Prue would have went on a date with a black man.
Well, Paige tried to, but Phoebe ruined it.
Paige tried to go on a date with that colored man, but she tried to go on a date with a colored man. Wasn't it her boss's son?
Boss's son.
Yeah.
She wasn't too excited about it.
Remember the black guy that was the janitor at P3?
Please don't bring up that magical Negro to me. Please don't bring that magical Negro up because what was the point? What was the reason?
There was no point. There was none.
What was the reason?
They don't even know.
Okay.
I think they just said, let's just start making up stuff. It don't matter. It makes sense. Let's just do something.
Was this the one who was talking to Chris?
He was sitting there to watch.
The one that was like, eyes was actually coming from you.
Oh yeah. But he was supposed. Well, they were supposed to get the other actor, who played Death, but he was busy. How can I get somebody to come in and be racist at the same time?
Exactly.
Oh, I know.
And then what makes it even worse was he was a janitor. Like
Right.
they could have said that he was death or he was a part of death from an alternate whatever, an alternate reality or something like that, or because Chris had messed up the timeline, he had to come in and clean it up and he was a variation of death because he wasn't actually dying, he was just being taken into a void. They could have done anything. But instead, they had this
Uh,
man clean it up, singing spiritual, saying, "Come on, sir, I was gonna take it to the other side."
What?
right.
Oh my God, I'm so tired of you.
And honestly, and honestly, they didn't even need him at all. Uh,
Because what I couldn't understand, okay, this is what I can't understand. And I kind of had the same issue with the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, but I let them get away with it because that's a Disney show. You would think that Chris would have disappeared instantly, right? Instead of fading.
yeah.
The only reason I kind of give it to them is because there might have been a window between when Piper and Leo needed to do the nasty and they just barely made it. But my thing is like the sperm didn't even get a chance to hit the egg and he comes talking about I'm back. Like
But and you know what else didn't make any sense to me? So he's doing all this fading and stuff, and and there's this window for him to be born. But when he started fading, they didn't do anything to get Piper and Leo together. So, like, why was he fading? It didn't
thank you.
change anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And then I think what they didn't think of either when they started doing that is the paradox that they were gonna create. Because if Chris was never born, that would mean that he couldn't come back in
Yes.
time to tell anybody. But then they did kind of start. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about Forget Me Not. I'm thinking about after the cleaners took him and they couldn't remember. Chris couldn't remember why he came back. Because in
Yeah.
that scenario, I can kind of understand why he didn't disappear because Wyatt still existed. It was just that their memories of him were taken. So I fully understand in that scenario why he didn't disappear. But if he ain't born, he ain't coming back. So what they should have done was in that episode have them start forgetting things. Like as Chris starts to fade, Phoebe be like, okay, and like she can't remember his name, or they can't
Right.
remember little stuff, or they kind of like walk past him and be like, "Who are you?" And then it's like, "Oh God," and then they start to realize, or did they do that? They didn't do that, right?
No, they just treated it normally, except he just
Mm-hmm.
would fade.
All right, y'all. So I hope that you enjoyed part 1 of this episode and tune in next time for part 2. We have so much fun and I think y'all are going to enjoy it. So, see y'all next time.